So meditation can never be forced. The mention is that who are you? What is it that you want in this life? And how do you go about getting it? Because that is what will give you bliss. However, there are consequences. And super consciousness will not encourage anything which is not conducive to well-being of everything.
Welcome to today's episode where we discuss Dhyana, the seventh limb of yoga, which is also known as the true form of meditation. So let's learn more about Dhyana, how it differs from Dharana, and how we can achieve this state of bliss. So welcome back to today's episode. So today we speak about the seventh limb of yoga, Dhyana. So what is Dhyana and what is the difference between Dharana and Dhyana is what I'd like to know.
Yeah, so Dharana, as I explained last time, was to create a form, shape, sound, or something that you can focus on. And then as you are in Dharana, like when you, because that is also not very easy, okay? So people keep times like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. And as you are in a state of dharana, that is when you're focusing on a form, shape, sound, or whatever inside you, okay, as you're in that state, there is a seamless transition into dhyana, which is like you lose the sight, the sound, or the form, or the shape, of whatever you've done, and you transition into being that which you have created, or you have formed, you're looking at, or you have visualized. You become that. That is the state of dhyana, which is meditation. So meditation can never be forced. So the concept of dhyana or meditation can never be cultivated. You cannot create it. You cannot technically create meditation in any form. It is a seamless transition from dharana. And that at times, okay, you go beyond what you have seen or created, and you see it from that thing that you have created. So as you become that thing, for example, you were focusing on flame, for example, and then you in dharana you visualize that flame inside you. Okay, so as you are in a state of dharana, you come in and you go out of state of dharana, which is 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and at times it so happens that as you are in that state of watching or seeing that flame inside you, you become that flame. Does that sound familiar? Because nowadays so much of has been spoken about manifestation and law of attraction. What do they say? You have to become what you want. Okay, it's as simple as that. You cannot. So it will all depend on your pratyahara and dharana, how you will transition into dhyana. So dhyana cannot be practiced. It cannot be. You cannot educate a person on prana, on dhyana. You cannot teach somebody to meditate, to be in a state of meditation. You can teach somebody to learn how you go towards that, but you cannot make a person go into that meditative state. I mean, of course, there are next level seers who can do it, but we are talking about normal humans. Okay, to be in that state, you need to follow all the other steps. and specifically pratyahara and dharana. So when you are in that,
So, please
yeah.
help me understand, okay? What do you mean by you become the flame? In the sense, I just want to be, I know it's difficult to visualize, but I want to be able to understand what it means when you say you become the object that you are
So
focusing on. So, do you see yourself from a different point of view, or what is it? What does that
okay, so now
feel like?
when you're talking, when I can speak in your language, in your generation language, which is the law of attraction generation and visualization. I mean, a law of attraction, I think, was our generation. Like we were like all over the place with it. But I guess you guys have gone a little further and understood a bit more about that. So in manifestation and law of attraction, what do they say? They say, if you want to become a successful person, you need to kind of be that person inside. Okay. Or you want
If you
there,
are already there,
exactly,
is what they
you
say.
want a particular house, you have to protect, or you have to see it like as if you're already living in that place, that house. Or you're driving a car, you need to kind of see yourself driving that car. So the same concept, if you take it a little bit more deeper, when you're talking about meditation per se, like talking about spiritual meditation, what it does is you need to become the flame wherein it cannot be, as I said, explained, but for like that's what happens to most of people, even if they're focusing on the name of a god, or you're focusing on the form of a god, or whatever it is. So what happens is you become a part of that which you have created. So it is as if you become that flame, and then that flame sees things beyond. Okay, I'm just giving you, it's better not to give any ideas, because then you'll start visualizing that.
Visualizing that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I understand what you
that is the
mean.
problem. That is
Okay,
the
okay.
problem. It's difficult. Those who have experienced
Mm. Because then your brain begins to
yes.
think that way, right?
So then
Because
you
that's
say,
what
oh,
you're
I saw
expecting.
orange color, I saw green color, I saw blue color. I mean, which I'm not saying people don't see it, but everyone has a different experience. So if I share that experience, you will want to recreate that experience because you think that is what is meditation. But that is not whatever you have created will. Okay, if you are in a state of complete alignment, in a sattvic state of mind, which is a complete alignment between the two attributes of tamas, and tamas means static and dynamism, and you're in a complete state of equanimity. Okay, you become that, what you have created in your dharana state, or in your pratyahara state, or a state of alignment when you were practicing that. And that is meditation. So dhyana can never be explained. It's a seamless transition. And as you go into dhyana, and even that, sometimes initially you just get it for a few seconds. Okay, so don't think, okay, I do dharana and then I'll go into a 10-minute dhyana. I mean, it can happen, but in a state of, people do like, other things to reach that state sometimes, but that is not with awareness. It has no, it does not take you anywhere close to what you're really trying to achieve, through assisted, it could be alcohol to, not that alcohol takes you there, but it could be other forms of, addictive things that you ingest. So people usually say that is the only way that people can maybe allow somebody else to experience it, but that is not what actually it is. It is not. It's. I mean, I'm calculating my words because I don't want to say the wrong things. It's not something that you encourage or you because it's not the real state. The real state is a state of complete control and surrender at the same time. Okay, there is no loss of awareness, there's no loss of alertness, there's no loss of anything. It is just a gain. You're just gaining that immense consciousness that is so powerful that you cannot explain that. That is why it is very, nobody, have you heard anyone explaining what meditation is? They will say, it's like, everything is one. Or they'll say, everyone is equal. Or they say, there's nothing called silence. There's nothing called this. They will have very vague answers to that, because it's almost impossible. Somebody like Shankaracharya couldn't explain it. He had to sing finally a song saying Bhaja Govindam. That's all you can do. He himself, after all the knowledge and all the brilliance that he had and all the poetic brilliance he had, finally he came down to Bhaja Govindam, which is like, just keep repeating the name of the Lord, So at the end of the day, he also had no words for it, because it's not possible to explain. It's a state of complete bliss. Okay, so dhyana is a state of complete bliss. Now, how do we relate that to the modern world? Okay, so what I would say is that, that when you are clear about your intentions, when you have a equanimity between the dynamic and the static and what your intention is, and then when you focus on something that is productive, constructive, and is taking you forward, and is not something which is destabilizing you in any way, that takes you forward into a state of complete bliss, because the clarity is so high that there's nothing but bliss you feel, because you know that that is all that you want. There's nothing more that you want. Okay, so that brings all the chaotic things surrounding that cannot affect you. So when we talk about it in a lay person's, when I'm saying lay person, not in a say that, somebody who's, we don't have to be spiritual. Doesn't have to be. Yoga never has told you that you need to, there is no mention of Ishvara in that. There's no mention of God. There is no mention of, prayers. There's no mention of, whatever. The mention is that, who are you? What is it that you want in this life? And how do you go about getting it? Because that is what will give you bliss. However, there are consequences. Okay, so if you don't follow the first two, maybe you might achieve what you want, but it might not end up very well. It's a very cryptic.
Again, the concept of be careful what you wish for. Because, you might wish for something and think it'll come in a certain way, but it can come in any which way,
So either be ready for it, or, so it never tells you what to do and what not to do. It tells you these are the steps that you need to follow. Okay, this is how you need to look at life. Because if you don't look at it this life, when it comes to dhyana, that is when you will understand, the form of bliss that you want will depend on the yama. Okay, so you cannot skip steps as such. I'm not saying skipping, you can parallelly practice everything, but don't think that yama is not important. Okay, or pratyahara is not important, because pratyahara is where your senses, your ability to get distracted, because your ability to go and, get what you want, whatever you want, because you have a weakness for something. But all that will not take you the state of bliss. Because when you reach the state of till dharana, you'll be okay. And you will seamlessly, this is, we are talking about the modern world, intention and law of attraction and manifestation and everything. So as you transition from dharana to dhyana, okay, there's a seamless transition and you will achieve it. But once you cross that line, okay, dhyana, how long are you going to be in that state of bliss will depend on what you did for your yama. Okay, that bliss might...
Because I think I'm seeing, because I guess non-violence is a very important thing which comes here, right? Because your state of bliss cannot cause destruction or whatever violence to somebody
Yes,
else.
because...
Correct? So it cannot...
Yeah. No, the intention
That's where
behind the
it,
destruction.
it's
So if the
important.
destruction was for the good
Yeah.
of, even then it will not. Because if you see in Gita, and after the war, like everyone is like, now what? Like, what has this got into? But it had to be done, because if it was not done, you're kind of encouraging, destructive people. So it had to be done. But then it does not mean that it has given people bliss. It has not. Okay, it was a state of real, complete anguish, though they won the war, everything is fine, they achieved their goals, everything, but the anguish was not, nothing could be done about the anguish. They had to take it with them. So that is what I'm talking about normal life. We are not talking about the spiritual ascension of saints and of a yogi. As I keep correcting people that we're not yogis, we are just normal people now. Yogis, they have to go through a lot of self-discipline to reach where they are. So that's a different form of going forward, which you are most welcome to go. But then you just need to follow it. And again, the yama, what is your intention? What is your intention for doing yoga? But yoga can be done for other things also, like, normal stuff. That's why Ravana also, if you remember, like all these people, all the people who have been a part of the destructive world, okay, have achieved it through yoga as well, because they have followed those rules, but not knowingly. So that is where I'm saying yama is very important. Where you start, what is your intention, why you're doing it, and you follow these steps, it is going to happen. But the state of bliss is not in your hands. The length of the bliss is not in your hands. That's grace. That's alignment. That's pure alignment with the super consciousness. And super consciousness will not encourage anything which is not conducive to well-being of everything, the universe. So the bliss will not extend unless you are very sure about your steps before you reach the state of dhyana. So meditation is it's a beautiful...
So I wanted to ask you something. So now once if you attain the experience of dhyana, okay, does it get easier to... what I'm trying to ask is that when somebody is experienced in dhyana or getting into the state of dhyana, is it can they do it at will?
There are two ways to answer this.
Enough.
Okay, the first one is dharana. Okay, what you're talking about is dharana. You can come in and go out of dharana state as and when you want. Okay, so what you're asking is actually not. Dharana becomes easier. Okay, because now that you're ready with a particular, that's why people say focus on one thing, choose one thing, choose one name, one mantra, one whatever it is, one prayer, one it is, and then repetitive, because it becomes easier to be in that state, in that. But dhyana is, as I keep saying, it is not in your hands. It's your complete alignment. When you're aligned, that is what grace is all about. I keep talking about the word grace. See, when you receive something, okay, it is when you are in complete alignment with all your 7 steps, 6 steps. Okay, when you are in that state, boom, you get it. So that is why whatever you trying to manifest, you don't achieve everything. However, we have the ability to achieve everything we are desiring. But we do not. Why? Because we are not in a state of alignment at the time of manifestation, or at the time of dharana, or at the time of pratyahara. So the equanimity comes, with awareness, so as you keep repeating it, okay, it becomes easier. And then at some point the alignment comes in and you seamlessly transition to dhyana. And in that state of dhyana is what complete grace, visits you. So that's why in that state of dhyana is not, you can't sometimes even yogis, if you hear the stories of all these people, even right, wrong, I don't know, whoever has spoken about, how they went into a trance and they went into a meditation, it's usually once or twice in a lifetime. They say, I went into a complete, I was not aware of anything. And I woke up after 3 days. I woke up after 4 days and I saw, like, even, everyone who talks about it, I don't want to name anyone, people who talk about that. It happens only once or twice. Yeah. They sleep, because anything beyond, I think, 7 days, you lose the body. So the conscious yogis who are there, they usually protect the bodies. Okay, it's guarded, and then they go into that when you know how to do it, you go into dhyana. I would stick to dhyana because the last part we'll come to later. They look after their bodies before going into that. That's why they sit in protective environments. They don't sit in unnatural, dangerous environments. But sometimes the first time it happens to them, they're not aware of it. So it happens. And it's just luck that, they become unconscious, or they don't have consciousness for 2-3 days, and they come out of it a different person. So those states are for yogis and for, spiritual masters and spiritual people who are aiming at that. But otherwise, for normal people, it's usually, when I'm saying normal, I don't know, sometimes I feel it's not right for me to call it normal, but it's also what we intend, what we want in this lifetime. Yeah, it's nothing to do with how big you are or how small you are. We all have the same potential. If you have a human body, we all have the same potential. There's no yogi, there's no siddha, there's no big person. It's just your intention about what you want in your life. Okay, and that takes you forward. Karma does have, we'll talk about karma in maybe one very later episode. Let's finish the limbs, then we'll talk about that. Is a whole topic that we can sometime talk about. But it's usually like, that's all. It's your intention as to what you want, and then you just follow these steps, and if you come in complete alignment, you will achieve your goals. So that state of bliss is called dhyana or stroke meditation. It's a state. It's not something you do.
Okay, that I think now I understand the difference between dharana and dhyana a lot more, because you're right, they're completely different things, But I guess, yes, as you said, most people consider dharana to be meditation and not dhyana.
Yes.
And I think, the closest I can even relate to dhyana is, like you said, sometimes when you're playing a game or when you're watching a movie, especially on the IMAX screens, the really big ones, you feel like you're in the movie, sometimes for a brief moment. So I guess that is what I can equate dhyana to with my um, limited
Yes.
understanding of what it
It's
is.
not something that people can explain. People try very hard, and those who have experienced it a few times, they will get upset also. People, what's wrong with you people? Like, can't you understand? And they're trying hard to explain these things because they just want everyone to enjoy that. Guys, like it's like that. You're screaming out of it, guys. You don't know. It's like that one person
Mm.
who has seen.
But people have no
It's that
idea.
one person who's, yeah,
Yeah,
who's
people
gone on
have no
top of the
idea.
mountain, and the
Yeah.
others have not seen it, and they'll come, guys, you don't know how it feels. It's
Mm.
not possible. It's a feeling. It's like,
Yeah. And
yes,
nobody believes them
seen
because
it,
they haven't seen it.
and
Uh,
they
mm,
feel that the person is
mm,
exaggerating, and then at some point, these are people who transition from dharana to dhyana. I'm not talking about yogis. Yogis then become quite, they have nothing to say or nothing to part. It's people who are in that stage of dharana and dhyana who keep moving from in and out of that, who are the ones who can explain and who can impart a little bit, motivate, inspire, and but those who have reached a state of permanent dhyana, they do not want anything to do with, they become silent, they become blissful, and their presence is enough to kind of change everyone's aura. That aura, that radius keeps increasing according to who you are. So it just kind of, to, they say, even to 500 kilometers from the radius they live in, they can change the aura of that area, the radius. So that's how they are, the permanent dhyana. I'm talking about dhyana, people who are in dhyana, blissful state.
mm, mm. Okay, perfect. So, thank you for explaining the difference because this is my biggest question, the difference between dharana and dhyana. So, I think now it's a
Yeah.
lot more clearer to me.
You're
So,
welcome.
thank you.
It's the
Thank you
first
so much.
step. So, we will talk about a lot about the last 2, 3 steps, because those are the ones which are most confusing and most misleading. So, we will talk about it more, like, in the future.
So, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Yoga, Body and Mind podcast. If you like what you've just heard, please visit us on our website www.getyogue.com and follow us on all our social media platforms for more content just like this. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment any questions that you might have for us. Also, don't forget to turn on the bell icon so you never miss any of our future episodes. Thank you once again and see you next Wednesday.